Hello, LinkedIn. Excuse me again. So thank you for anybody who is watching the Late Lunch Show today live. And we've been getting quite a few more people that have been watching it live. Obviously, we had a few technical difficulties the other week there, but it seems to have sorted itself out. LinkedIn seems to be kind of liking us again and becoming our friends. So, get Gordon Merrill's on with us, and we'll let Gordon tell you a wee bit about himself once we get started. But as always, big shout out to Bold Mango Media. Andrew gave us a pat in the back. He's stressed him out today, Gordon.
I'm a wee bit,
So a big shout out to Andrew, and also a big shout out to our sponsors. Thanks, Amelia, our sponsors, Grow. So these guys, Gordon, have you ever been to Grow?
No, I haven't.
No. Absolutely fantastic. So they're a local place. We've got a place down in here and one in Irvine, and they're just about to open one in Seamill. Now, local coffee shop, guy that Andrew and I know, and it's organic coffee and all this kind of stuff, and big ass cakes. So it's brilliant. So
I have to say, Jamie, the cake looks amazing.
Right, well, let's show them the cake now. So that's what we do before we get into our chat. So I'll go first, right? So I've got a honeymoon slice again, the old favourite. And what you go for?
And I never even told anybody what my favourite was, but this is, I've not had one of these in years, so the old-fashioned strawberry tart.
Stick up a bit, show it to the camera, mate. There you go, keep going. They're so good.
I love that, it's brilliant. I love that sauce.
So looking forward to that. Right, so thank you to our sponsors, thank you to Bold Mango Media, and then we're going to get into the chat.
Good.
So I'm going to tell everybody about how Gordon and I met, right, first of all, and then where we were kind of, because our relationship just went leaps and bounds.
And we'd probably speak most weeks as well. So, and you're better memory than me, because you're going to tell me what I probably can't remember.
I'm going to tell you. So I'll tell you as well as I tell all the people watching. Right. So the first time we met, you came and did a presentation at the Scale Up.
That's right. I do remember that.
So that's where I've just back from now. That's where I graduated. So that's,
brilliant!
Well done.
Congratulations.
So, it's been really good. So
you'll keep in touch with that cohort.
Aye. Yeah. That's what we're talking about there. Is all the things that we're going to do, and we've started putting a kind of structure in place for next year. So we've got the Founders Conference that most of us are going to.
November.
Aye, so we're going to go there. That'll be a kind of wee thing. We're going to the rugby as a group.
You're going to try and keep the group together?
Yeah. Hey, see the bond that you make.
It's almost that peer-to-peer learning, isn't it? It's brilliant.
And everybody holding each other accountable. I was nearly greeting about 4 times a day. Aye, so...
you must get really close to some of the people.
You do, and you're sharing your biggest...
It's warts and all, and they find some of the challenges you've had along the way. Actually, the first person that said that, I've got a good friend who's on another cohort. They finished theirs, let's say 6 months ago, and they've made a real effort to try and keep in touch.
Is that Johnny?
It's Johnny is in that cohort, along with Craig, along with Alan, who's a good friend of mine. All of them are, actually. I know them all really well. And they've made a real effort to keep that group together, which is no easy. No,
it's no, and that's why we're trying to do it in a kind of structured fashion to make sure that we can keep each other accountable. Because the day was quite emotional, because when you're going into that environment, you're sharing everything. Right, all the challenges with your business, because when you're leading a business, it's a lonely place. I'm all right, I've got Kane, right, but other people you've just got that you're just yourself as a leader, and it
reminds me a lot, actually, the accelerator program that we'll probably go on to that at some point, but that sense of community and as you said earlier, I think you build a lot of trust up as well,
100%,
because you've shared some of the good times, but you've also shared a lot of your challenges along the way. And you've had a lot of them saying, I've had that issue, or how did you do with this issue? How did you deal with that? And I think that peer-to-peer learning is brilliant. And I admire the fact that you're trying to keep it going. It'll be hard because it might fall to 1 or 2 people, in which case we're all busy, and it's really hard to try and do that. So good luck with that, because I think keeping it going will be the tough part.
There'll be a lot of value in it, and it will be tough. That's what we're trying to do. We're talking about who's going to be the kind of owner of it.
And actually maybe finding somebody out with the group is a good way. I know the other group have looked at that to try and keep it going is maybe an easier way of doing it than relying on each other.
So if it's anything today, Gordon, that sounds like you were volunteering for that.
Well, I wasn't volunteering, but But I know a few things. I know what another couple of groups have done. So.
Aye, good. So yeah, so we met at the scale up thing where you were in talking about
that's
N4
right.
Ventures.
I
Right?
remember. That's a couple of years ago.
Aye, but it must have been about 18 months ago. In fact, no, it must have been more than that. In fact, do you know what? It wasn't this scale up cohort, it was the pre-scaler
I
cohort
think
I was
it's
on.
October 2 years ago.
Aye, because it was a pre-scaler that I was on at the time, this cohort.
I'm sure it was October, and I think it's probably coming up in a couple of years
It
now.
will be, because it was 2 years ago at the Edge that we then spoke. So we spoke at that, and you talked about N4 Partners and what you were doing there and what the N4 Partners were trying to achieve.
Yep.
And I can remember you sitting there talking about the investment fund that you had. So then, can you remember the next time we met?
I'm trying to think. Was it Edge?
Aye, it was Edge.
Aye.
It was Edge final, and I come up and I said to you, I says, "How much you got in this fund?" I says, "I'm maybe wanting 2 million."
And look at how things have moved since then.
I know. And then, as I say, you then introduced me to the guys at FSE. Oh, Jim's coming on the show.
Oh, good. I was with him yesterday.
Was you? I was saying that.
So they've been really good for a lot of clients, actually. And I'll let them do their own plug, but I think it's a really they're solving a problem that's a gap in the marketplace where traditional banks or traditional lenders wouldn't go. So it's one of the areas, I think, if you think about an SME, maybe I've been thinking about it in a way over here, is an SME needs an ecosystem.
Yep.
And an SME needs an ecosystem that's got things like in it, like your obviously your accountancy practice, your advisor. That might be an IFA as well. It could be a wealth manager, but there's certainly your legal advisor, your accountant advisor. You've obviously got things like growth funding, whether that's bank-led funding, whether that's equity-based funding. There's that growth funding that's required. Then you've probably got technology. Yeah. Because as a business starts to scale, technology becomes a real challenge, and I think. We have been working with one of our clients really closely, and you might hear more about this next week because we're about to launch a new service line next week at WBG, which is our accountancy practice, of which we've got 6 offices, and I think I told you about that. I'll talk a wee bit about that later. And even as recent as 2 days ago, Jaguar Land Rover have been caught by a cyber attack. Have they? And all their production across the entire world locations have stopped. I was watching it last night on TV, and most mental. Of these, I think about 80% of these, about 85% of these cyber attacks that you've seen from Co-op, Marks and Spencer's, Jaguar Land Rover are all phishing attacks. Aye. And that's where they can get access to your team. Aye. And get that phishing attack through somebody in the team that's maybe not been as vigilant as they should have been. We had that drilled into us in the bank for obvious reasons. Yeah. In fact, they used to create mock attacks and not tell us. Aye. And try and attack you use an individual during the week. And you had to respond the right way, and if you didn't, they told you just failed the test. The banks really, and you did get a yellow card. Aye. So that's another area I think is really important. And you talked about peer-to-peer learning. I think that's a really important part of the ecosystem. You then get supply chain and how they manage that. So I've been thinking about this over the HR is another good example 100%. Of as a business starts to scale. We're going to have Fiona on here. Yeah, and Fiona will be great for the programme because she'll talk about some of the challenges. And of course, policy and legislation is changing all the time, especially under Labour government. Correct. And there's some things planned coming soon. And a lot of that's moving towards employee-led. Yep. As opposed to the employer. A lot of it, most of it. As an SME, that creates its own challenges. 100% it does. So all of that, I think we're trying to create a bit of an ecosystem at N4 and WBG to look after those SMEs. And I think that our relationship started to grow based upon the fact that we're very similar. We just want to help people. You and I had this. We laughed about it, didn't we? Because some would say your biggest strengths that you help people. Some would say that your biggest weakness is that you help people. Correct. And I don't find saying no very easy because I always like to try and help. Yeah, I know the feeling. As a result of that, you create a whole load of work for yourself. But do you know what? I think the two of us came to the conclusion that you'd rather be remembered for someone who gives without an expectation of getting and says yes to help, as opposed to somebody who just says no.
100%.
I would rather not be remembered like that.
I'd rather be remembered for being a good guy.
Aye.
Right?
That's my view. So,
And
so
that's,
we are a bit alike.
We are a bit alike, and that's what I seen quite quickly was. I mean, when you had said to me to go and speak to the guys at FSE, that was just you thought that was the better thing for me to do at that present time, and you're going, that's amazing, because I'm coming to you looking to try and basically work as part in talking about investment and that kind of stuff, and you sat down and you spoke to me, Jamie, I don't think that's the right. It might be for the future.
I think that's right,
Aye.
and you keep that powder dry for the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I do think at the time, the British Business Bank Investment Fund for Scotland through the FSE group who facilitated it was right for you.
And
I think it's I'd like to think that's been proven.
It has been proven. 100%. As I say,
and you're now in a different phase and scale.
Yep.
And a phase of scale. That might lead to equity based funding later.
Yep.
In terms of an investment raise, and there's probably other things that you'll look at in terms of...
That's where we're at now, and to be honest with you, without that kind of wee steered by you, we might not be at the stage we're at just now, where we're looking at...
I think it's accelerated you.
Yes, it has. It definitely has. What it's done is that the getting that debt funding on us gave us the wiggle room that we needed to try and grow.
What was the difference for me, Jamie, with you was that you were trading well. You were generating really good revenue, you had good cash in the bank,
mm-hmm.
and therefore you could afford to take on that debt.
Yeah,
that was very different debt, because it's not bank debt, it's growth funding debt, it's forecast-based lending debt,
yeah.
which is very different. So it looks at the future rather than the past, which most banks would look at the past,
yes.
and then decide on your future.
Aye.
This looks at the future, so it's back in the future growth model that you've got, and you had that pretty clear in your mind, and that's the difference for me.
Aye.
And what it did is it allows you to keep a bigger raise for future and maybe potentially giving equity away, and it meant you didn't give any of your business away.
Yeah.
And I think that was the right thing at the right time for you.
100% agree. It's been instrumental for us, because they say that's us now. We've now put a structure in place to allow us to scale in a much bigger way than we probably could have done organically, and it's basically giving you that kind of wiggle room and that kind of working capital to be able to make the decisions, rather than we need to go and get a contract to bring that person in. So that was the whole purpose of it. So you're right, growth capital. So it's investing in the team to be able to then go to the growth of the next step and hopefully just continue.
And I think the other thing is as well, most people that will fundraise, whether it's debt or equity, generally speaking, that's not always the case, but generally speaking, there might be a bit of stock in there, but generally speaking, it's for resource.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, it's for sales resource or marketing resource. Maybe at times there's other types of, but generally speaking, the vast majority of the raise or the debt element is to fund new resource.
Yep.
And most of the time that's in sales and marketing.
Well, we obviously brought on a salesperson, which was the first salesperson in the business. One of the things that we used the money for is some of the internal kind of structural things. So like obviously putting management tier in, so it wasn't all sitting with me and Kane.
So almost a span breaker.
Aye, basically, aye. And bringing in like Kelsey's role as a business analyst, so she could then get it's trying to look at what's all the stuff that was sitting in me, what's all the stuff that's sitting in Kane. How do we then filter that out? Because the growth was always going to be hindered by mine and his time. Yeah.
So I think the phrase that you hear a lot, people saying, I think it's a good phrase to sum up what you just said, which is, you created capacity for yourselves, both you and Ken, to work on the business rather than in the business.
Yep.
And I think that's really important when you're in that growth phase.
Definitely.
And of course, you'll be picking up so many thoughts and ideas from the likes of the Scale Up program and the coaching that you've had and want to implement a lot of that. Aye. And that just takes time, and you need to create capacity. And
100%.
And you don't do that unless you bring in and can trust people, and can delegate to allow you to create that leadership role in between. Which is great that you've done that.
Aye, that's it. That's what I've been working on now for a few months.
Easy to do, by the way.
It's not. We're fortunate enough that we've got a really, really good team, and
especially you in terms of letting go.
Aye, 100%. I'm no, I can't let go, but it's trying to make sure you let go and then you don't try and jump back in.
But let go a wee bit.
Aye.
Angela Rayner's just resigned.
Who?
Angela Rayner.
Has she?
Oof. So I'm not. So I'm surprised a wee bit because I thought they were trying to rally around her, and kind of get their retaliation in first. I think, given what's happened, it's probably the right thing.
Ah, it is.
And I'm not political in any way at all.
Neither am I. But I end up what I try, because I end up then my personal views end up coming out on various things.
Me too. But you can't be in charge. I mean, the bottom line is factually, you can't be in charge of housing for the whole of the UK. And of course, I think that
you're stiffing.
Exactly. And I think for me, the nail in the coffin late last night was the legal firms coming out and saying they hadn't given her advice.
Right.
So that was for me the turning point.
Aye. This is the thing. You can make mistakes in your life, but don't try and lie your way out it.
There's a really good phrase. I'm trying to remember if I get this right. You can't talk yourself out of a problem you've behaved yourself into.
Yeah.
And I think when you think about it,
aye.
And that's exactly what she's done. She's behaved herself into an issue that you just can't talk yourself out of.
Aye. Well, no luck, Angela. You behaved your way into a problem that you just can't talk your way out of.
You can't though.
Aye. Right, so we ended up, obviously, I mean, you've been a great help to us, and hopefully that I can return.
Will be.
Aye, and hopefully, as you know, anytime that there's ever anything that's
I know you
from
do.
me, I'm happy to help. But let's talk a wee bit. So we'll talk about N4 first, right? Because I was quite impressed when I went into N4. We sat down and we spoke. So what was the kind of why of N4?
So 4 partners that came together in, would you believe, January 2020. So just before COVID. And signed a lease in a really nice building in Glasgow. We came together as 4 partners. They'd all worked together, actually, the 4 partners. And they'd worked together in various different guises, but on and off, but I think together at Clyde Blowers.
Yep.
And they came together and brought a fund that they were managing with them, and managed that fund through a £420 million fund. N4 has kind of gone through quite a series of, I guess, changes as it's evolved. Advisory and investment probably is the way you would have described it now. As Alan would say, who's one of the partners there and CEO at WBG. And Alan's probably my reason for being there. I've known some of the partners for a while, but I've known Alan 25 years. And we met at a business function, a wee bit like you and I, and we became pals.
Aye.
And that happens a lot, I think, in business. And business is there to be like that, and it's there to have a bit of fun and make friends. And I think as well, I think a lot of that people try and shy away from that, but I think it's a good thing. So they have probably morphed more into a bit of a family office.
Right, aye.
So they've made a lot of individual investments with the partners' own funds.
Yep.
So they've invested in a handful of businesses. So anything from 10-20% ownership up to 100%. A clinical research trial business for Alzheimer's, dementia, depression and Parkinson's. Great business called Neuroclin. They have invested in a commercial paint and decorating business out in Rutherglen. They've invested in an online furnace solutions business. They've invested in an accountancy practice roll-up, which I'll come back to. They own McLagan Smith Mugs out at Alexandria and Jamestown, Alexandria. So quite an eclectic group there, but there is a little bit of a theme around industrial sector, engineering, construction, you might say, and that's because of their background. And one of the partners, Keith, is really he's the kind of engineer behind all of that in terms of to trade, and that's been a real sweet spot for them. So, and of course, the one I'm more involved in now is WBG. Which I know you know about. So that's a 6 accountancy practice roll-up. A really exciting stage of growth for us. Full services firm, so payroll, internal, external audit, statutory accounts, tax, personal and corporation tax. Just launched I was speaking to you this the other day, Jamie. Just launched this week a fractional CFO
I
offering.
was telling the folk in my cohort about it yesterday.
Really to try and support businesses that are at a stage where to get that right talent would be awful expensive.
Yep.
And might need some support or maybe struggling around resource and might need support in that CFO role. And I've already referred that. I think I might have referred the first client, actually, not a million miles away from here, I won't say the name, who have just taken up that support. Because a bit like you said earlier, the individuals in the business are great at what they do, but they're stretched.
Yeah.
And they need to create capacity. And as much as I could never do what you do, they don't have that financial background that maybe I have or WBG has, and they need a lot of help to make sure that they know their numbers.
Aye. And that what I said about that was obviously, I gave you the example of obviously Kelsey in our business. So Kelsey's absolutely amazing, right? But she needs, she said it's herself, she would like to try and get somebody from a financial background to be a mentor for her.
Yep.
That's no me, that's no Kane, that's no people. We are.
But it also distracts you away from what you're brilliant at, which is your own business, your own sector, and bringing in sales and partnerships to your business that's going to help grow the business. Anything beyond that is a distraction, frankly.
Aye. No,
so somebody like that, maybe there to hold Kelsey's hand for a period, to the point where you get her, I said this the other day, you get her to a stage where she's really happy and feels really in control, has learned loads and can take that on her own.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity to do that. So that's a new service line for us. We've got a...
Let's see, 2 seconds. Kelsey, right, she'll be watching this now.
Will
Right?
she?
Aye. So Kelsey, put a comment in that and say to Gordon, so you'll get a discount code. Just pick G Merrill's 50, right, in the comments.
That's all right. Don't worry. Do that, Kelsey. And we're launching. We've had quite a number of things over the last week. Well, we just appointed Benny Higgins as chair of WBG.
Right.
Benny was my boss a number of years ago in RBS.
That's
which is really nice, and I've been really fortunate to have kept in touch with him over the years. He's been great counsel for me and a great mentor. So it's gone full circle. So he's now chair at WBG, which is great, and he's a real titan in the financial services industry, a terrific network. Aye. He'll be great for us as we go through this growth period. We put a new CFO into the business, Gary Clark, last week. Well, it's about 8 weeks, but I think it was announced last week. And then this week we've announced the fractional CFO offering, a new service line. Next week we'll see us announce another new service line offering, which will cover one of the areas that I mentioned as part of that ecosystem that an SME needs as it grows and scales. I think I might have told you, but I won't say live.
No.
Just in case I get in trouble.
And I'm trying my hardest not to grass you into it, to be honest.
So that's good. So that's been, and we've done, we've managed to become the accountancy partner, professional services partner of choice. I know this is close to your heart too, Jamie, for Entrepreneur Scotland.
Yeah.
So Sean and the team, I'm really looking forward to working with them and bringing a bit of value that WBG can bring overall just around all those services that I mentioned. So it's exciting. It's good for me in that role that I'm supporting both N4 and WBG, probably more so WBG, because we've got some big growth aspirations. We are 190 staff, probably 70% of our businesses in Scotland. About between 10 and 12,000 clients, 5,000 to 6,000 of those are SME clients.
Yep.
We want to kind of deepen that relationship with those SMEs. We want to grow our number of SMEs we support, of course. But there's a big opportunity in organic growth within the sector as well. There's been a lot of consolidation.
Yep.
For example, something that's really live now is a lot of SMEs are struggling at the right level, are struggling to get their audits done.
Yep.
And we want to be able to solve that problem. That's a big area of focus for us within external audit within WBG.
I've had one, so they did my audit.
I remember you told me for one of the grant support, wasn't it?
Aye, that's what it was. It was a final thing for SE grant.
Yeah.
And Rory and the team can't speak any highly of them.
So that kind of stuff's great, and I'm much more involved in that. When you think about my background and hopefully my network. But I'll need a lot of help, so I'm looking for a lot of the energetic, members of staff and colleagues of mine that are in WBG to help me with some of these things. You can't, you know what it's like.
You can't do it all yourself.
do it all yourself.
No, one of the things that obviously, because we're now obviously engaging with them to do more, they helped us with. So, and this is where people probably don't see some of the bigger benefits of working with probably a larger accountancy firm. So it's the likes of, we've just done a kind of reorganisation of the business.
Yeah, right? So from a structure point of view.
Structure point of view.
Getting a bit of advice and that's supported. We would call that, and you'll get this, Jamie, we would say, and you'll know there's loads of these, inflection points. So every time a business or an SME, and that could be a growth phase, it could be various different things, but every time there's an inflection point, that could be bringing in a new member of staff, it could be bringing in a new piece of technology, as many businesses are trying to do now, because digitisation is really important in terms of productivity and growth. It could be any of those inflection points, and we'd like to think we were there for those SMEs at any of those points. You've just given a really good example of one of them. In terms of restructuring, maybe getting yourself, as we will, and I said we'll do a lot of that growth organically, but we might do some of that growth by acquisition. And that's another area we can provide advice and support, due diligence in that acquisition and that support, as you know, how the structure of the business needs to look, and from a taxation perspective 100%. As well.
100%. That for me was inevitable.
All of that is within, and we want to be seen as that. And everybody says it, but you kind of have to mean it. That kind of go-to person where you can refer, recommend, and go to that individual for advice. And it might be a different person within the organisation, but that's my job to help you navigate that, as I've done with you. So that that advice is there, and that consultative advice is there.
And I think and this is where, as an SME, especially a growing SME, you don't know what you don't know. Right?
No.
And this is having people like yourself and that the access to people in WBG and all these kind of other networks. And this is, for me, surrounding yourself with people that have been there, done it, and got a various t-shirts on it, or at least know people that are wearing the t-shirts, makes a huge difference. I mean, we were going through this process.
And sometimes you can waste a bit of time finding that right
massive
person. And then, and unfortunately, I think for some SMEs, they might give up because it's not obvious you're going to get to where you need to.
We are fortunate, but obviously got likes of yourself and other people
around
about
you'll have others. That peer group, for example.
Oh, it's massive. And but there's things where you just, without having somebody that can point you in that direction, you're kind of going round in circles and just getting lost.
It's funny, actually. You can set yourself. You and I probably set ourselves up here for a wee bit of a bundle of contacts, but reaching out. But I would probably, and this is quite bold, right? And I think you could do the same. You and I have done this a few times. If somebody phoned me with an issue, I reckon I could find the right person to help them with it. It'll not be me a lot of the time, but it'll be somebody that I know that can add value. I had a chap the other day who's a good friend of mine, asked me to look at 3 videos he'd done for an advert. And I've looked at the 3 of them. I've given him my thoughts on what I think the 3 of them are, or I think I actually went for a combination of 1 and 3 rather than 1, 2 or 3. But then he said to me, one of my challenges, Gordon, is getting the new business, a fairly new business, great, but doing really well, but it's fairly new. Noticed from a Google search, Google ads. Do you know anybody that can help? And it's not me. But I know exactly somebody that can help, and I've arranged to meet them today, and I'll tell you they'll sort that for them.
That's probably.
No, that's not me. I don't have that.
That must be. So we've had this conversation before. That probably makes up 10 to 20% of my phone calls. Is somebody's got an issue, and I'm like that. Well, go and speak to this guy. Go and speak to that woman. Go and speak to them.
But you don't realise when you first start out that your network, and people talk about money. I mentioned money earlier, whether that's debt or equity. What you're describing is the stuff that money can't buy. Which in time, I think an entrepreneur or people who support entrepreneurs, as I've been fortunate enough to do over the years, realise that it's much more valuable than any money you can give them.
100%. See if there's somebody that you know that you can phone and you can trust that they're going to give you the truth and they'll help you if you need it. It's money can't buy that. And I think we had this conversation before as well. That's when I started this business up, folks thought I was mental, right? They thought I was mental, leaving you've good, well-paid job and all that kind of stuff. They start something up in the middle of COVID, blah, blah, blah. But, and folk, they're like, you've got no customers. I says, I know I've no. I says, but when and obviously when I spent my time working in the central belt of Scotland, and that was 15 years before that, I said, I was a good guy to a lot of people, right? So because this philosophy that I've got
it's
now,
funny you say
it's
that,
always
actually. That's probably followed me when I left the bank. When I left the bank, obviously it was quite relatively quick, not for me, but for others that didn't know, it was relatively quick. So, he's leaving. And of course, I'd been responsible for the accelerator program and the entrepreneurship strategy for about 8 years. And when I put the post out on LinkedIn, which I don't do many, do a few, but in a comment,
to be honest.
You're good at it. The response was phenomenal. And it's only then that you realise all those people you have helped over the years, the good guys and girls, come to you and say, what can I do to help you? And I really felt that at the time I left the bank. And loads of people never ever forget the good guys and girls. Never forget what you've done to help them, and want to pay it forward.
No, and again,
and I think that's a really nice thing.
So do I. And you're right. You probably don't realise the amount of people that you touch and you help, with regards to just what you do, because we just do it. Right, it's just somebody you'll help whoever asks for help.
Well, because the thing is, Jamie, you hope that one day it'll come back. I mean, me now, it's a wee bit different. So from a WBG point of view, there's lots of advice and support and help that from a full service offering they can give to an SME. So my view is that you kind of help them because you want to help them. You do it with an expectation of giving without getting back. But one day, they'll say, oh, I'm going to go back to Gordon because he's there. That's exactly what I need. He helped me before. He gave me great advice, and I'm going to go back to him again.
Well, that's exactly why. Obviously, our relationships went a bit further forward than that. But see, if we had only had our first couple of interactions, and then I knew what WBG did now, I would still be coming there to something like that. I know I can trust him, and I know that he's helped me.
And I think that's a big word, isn't it? Because I think if you were doing a Q&A, I'm pretty sure somebody would say, but it's not all that you two.
Aye.
There are people out there that it's pounds before help. And support, and you don't get anything for free. And I think there are people out there like that. It's just not the way that you and I are.
No, and I would never change it.
No, I've thought about it over the years. As I said, I've had bosses that have said to me, "Oh, you need to get better at saying no, Gordon." Well, maybe I do, but do you know what? I'd rather be remembered for the person that helped, than the person that said no all the time.
And the likes of there is a lot of people out there, if somebody went and phoned them up and asked them for something, they would just say no, right? If me or you phoned up half of the people that I've spoke to just now and needed something off them, the chances are they're going to say aye, right? If they're
well, it gets beyond that, doesn't it? Because you and I think originally you would say, right, I'm going to introduce you to so-and-so, Jamie, is that okay? And you would say, that makes a load of sense. Of course it's okay. I don't even need to phone and ask you now.
No.
I can introduce that person to you and you'll go, I know exactly where he's coming from and I trust him. So I don't need to pre-qualify it, if that makes sense.
Aye. No, you don't.
But it takes me a while to get to that point in a relationship. But you and I would say, are like that now.
No, 100%, because I know that...
And if you ask me to speak to somebody, I will.
Aye.
Because Jamie asked me.
Aye, and that's it. And you know that I know that you're not going to ask somebody to speak to me if there isn't some sort of value in it somewhere, either for me or that person. So either I'm going to be able to get some value from them, or they're going to get some value from me.
That takes a wee bit of time.
No, definitely. So N4, obviously, you're now kind of probably more heavily involved in the WBG part. So you're talking about the growth strategy for WBG, because I was quite interested in this, because you obviously, when you think about it just as an accountancy firm, but it's not just an accountancy
No,
firm.
it's way beyond that.
And the obviously, especially bringing in the people you're bringing into it, there's obviously quite a high growth kind of plan in place. So what do you see the future of it looking like, and then the benefits that can bring to an SME, and is SME still always going to be the target audience for it?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, but we've got some really big clients.
Aye.
But on the basis that there are something like 5.5 million SMEs in the UK, and 99 point whatever percent of them are what you would class as SME, that is a very that mirrors our client base.
Yep.
So with that, of course, we've got big clients. We've got quite a number of audit clients, and all those clients will turn over more than 10 million from an audit perspective.
Yep.
Some of them a lot more than that. But full service offering from early stage startup right through to that high growth, corporate sized business. With all those services I mentioned in between, and some of the new ones that we're launching, because you're trying to create a bit of an ecosystem that can surround that SME at the right point, at the right time, and provide support. So that's the plan, and I think for now, I think I've got to the 190 colleagues, about 14 million fee income. We want to grow that organically and potentially through acquisition. I said there are 6 practices within WBG now. WBG next year, while it was the old Wiley Bissett in name, is 100 years old. So it's a big year for us. Been around.
We're having a party then?
But I think we probably will be. Been around and supported a lot of those businesses for many, many years. I think that means a lot, actually. I think
100% it does.
So that's really important to us. I think for the next 3 years, probably next 3 to 5 years, probably want to get to 30 million income in the next 3 years, 50 million in the next 5.
Good. Probably
want to become a top 30 UK firm in the next 3 to 5 years.
Good.
So that's the plan, and that's Benny as chairman will lead us within that, along with the leadership team. And I'm just going to be fortunate enough to play hopefully more than a wee bit. Hopefully more than a wee bit.
I know you will. You're going to be part of the future transformation of what this is going to look like.
But it's good, and as I said earlier, you can do that through organic growth, and that organic growth, the obvious thing is you bring in obviously new clients, and would love to be talking to new clients. So that's the plug. But actually, you know me, broader than that, there's a lot of partnerships that I'm trying to develop in that ecosystem that I mentioned, whether that's commercial insurance broker, whether that's IFA, whether that's technology, whether that's supply chain management, whether that's credit rating, credit report management, because there's a firm in there that will do credit monitoring, they'll do credit awareness, and they'll do credit repair. So they'll be able to repair an SME's credit rating before they go for funding, and it might even get a better, improved funding rate than they would have done had. They might even not be able to enter into a procurement process without the right rating. A lot of people don't know that exists, Jamie. So if you surround yourself with the right kind of ecosystem of partners, but also the right service offering that we've got and we're adding to it, then I think that becomes quite a nice marriage. At the heart of it is your client and your SME, and that's why you exist. We're not there for any other reason than to support those. And you're saying,
wait to hear this for an idea, right? How many clients have you got at WBG just now?
So about 12,000, but that's split between personal and SME. SME between 5,000 and 6,000.
So out of that 6,000, how many of them do you think are in an industrial process environment?
Quite a few.
Now, so why don't you go and offer them a reliability business that will help them save money and make their bottom line better?
And
there you go. Look at that.
But we should talk about that. I mean, on all seriousness, we should talk about that, because that could be a partnership that they don't know anything about. We're telling them, we're adding value, and it's about that loyalty. So it creates stickiness, it creates loyalty. They see us as a go-to advisor, trusted partner, whatever you want to call it, as their advisor, consultant, mentor.
Aye, well, it's
client.
It's the likes of when you're sitting there, you've got somebody looking at their books and going like that, right, we see either...
And we will have a sector of that. You know, we will have
we either see inefficiency in your production, or you've lost 500 grand or £1 million or £2 million in your bottom line because you've had equipment breaking down. We know exactly the people that can help you with that.
And that creates loyalty. And it means that when you're trying to do stuff with that client, you've added a ton of value throughout the year. You're not waiting to the end of the year before you say, there's your fee for this year. But actually, it's really easy because you've added so much value throughout the year with ideas like that and partnerships like that. Let's chat about it.
Yeah, okay. No day online, right?
Not online, but let's
no giving away all our secrets.
No, definitely not.
Right, okay. What time, mate? Because we usually just play. Right, so 10 minutes, right? We're going to talk about your time at the bank and when you obviously the whole accelerator program that was there. Because for me, I think that, and you can tell me if you're wrong, but I think that's helped kind of turn you into the person that you are, because that program, obviously being there for the inception of it, seeing all these businesses. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, no, you are right in saying that. I think probably some of the most challenging areas of development over the years, but some of the most rewarding, and it's certainly. I remember, I said this to somebody yesterday, you know how you used to do your when you had one-to-ones with your boss years ago, it was you get 360-degree feedback. I remember doing 720-degree feedback, which a lot of folk haven't heard of, and that's when they go to your friends and family as well. Your colleagues.
I've heard it. I've never had it, but I've heard it.
It's actually even more scary. You think they're not watching you, but they are. Even when you're down the pub with your pals, they do have an idea of what you're good at and what you're not so good at.
My mum would love that. You spoke to my mum, haven't you? She would love that.
She's brilliant. So I did that, and I remember going back years ago. One of the areas of development was, Gordon, your network's poor. You're not that widely known in the community, in the area, Scotland, UK. Forward wind all those years, Jamie, and that's one of the big benefits of what I did at the bank, is that I've got a terrific network now. I mean, a tremendous network. We talked a wee bit about the value in that network earlier. So I'm very, very grateful for that. But I started as a cashier. In Scotland, you would say teller. In England and Wales, you don't know what that means. Right. So you get used to saying cashier. So I started as a teller in the Shotts branch in 1985. Jamie, I am 40 years working anniversary in October coming.
Is it?
And I'll tell you what, I'm going to celebrate it.
Good.
Because I think that's quite a big deal.
Bloody hell, is it?
So I'm going to do something that just celebrates I've done 40 years of work. And that's not counting the paper runs.
Sit on the couch. Take a break.
A wee whiskey. So I started to work my way up through the organisation. Back then it was a career. I think life is very different now.
Yes.
I think the mindset for some of our younger colleagues is very different. The opportunities are very different. But for me, I went to Jordan Hill to be a PE teacher, got the bursary, got all the gear, went for the interview in the bank before I started college at Annisland in Jordan Hill. And by the time my dad had driven me home, they'd phoned and offered me the job. So I took it. Because I didn't want to do other subjects. I didn't want to go to uni. I didn't want to do any of that. So I took the job, and I worked a lot in the branch banking, and then I really liked the SME part of the business banking. Most notable roles, I ran business banking for the UK for startup to 250,000 turnover, so relatively early stage.
Yep.
But we were opening 100,000 startups a year at the bank back then.
Mental.
I think they might be opening more than that now, but 120,000. So, and we had a market share in Scotland of 40%. We had a market share combined in England and Wales and Scotland. But England and Wales, I think it was about 22, 23. And of course, then we had the bank crash and the bailout and all that sort of stuff. I came back home and I ran business banking in Scotland. I ran a business called Mentor, which is a bank's subsidiary business, which was great. And then we had the crash and the bailout. And I remember sitting there as a leader, trying really hard to keep the dressing room.
Aye.
And when I say this, people say, no, it wasn't. It was exactly like this. You couldn't wear your tie, your pass. You couldn't really advertise who you worked for at that point in time. It was really quite toxic.
Aye.
Now, I got it because I think as much as the bank might have deserved that criticism, I don't think the branch staff or the relationship managers that I worked with did.
Aye.
But they got the brunt of it.
Aye.
And it was really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I had an idea that we should put ourselves at that ecosystem that I talked about, where you've got enterprise agencies, you've got Scottish Enterprise at Business Gateway, you've got further education colleges, universities, you've got media, politicians, you've got local government, you've got corporates, you've got funders, banks, you've got serial entrepreneurs. And I thought, we know all of them. We could put ourselves right in the heart of that and create something special. And I went to the then CEO, did something, and I wouldn't do it again, Jamie, but I went over my boss's head for 75 grand and went straight to the CEO because an opportunity came up to sponsor Entrepreneurial Spark, which is kind of where it all started. And I was at a dinner one night, and Sir Tom Hunter, who's been great for me and a great for me and great to me over the years. I know you know Tom quite well. Tom got a Lifetime Achievement Award that night, and he mentioned Entrepreneurial Spark in his speech. And I thought, I'm going to do something about that. And the speaker that night was Bob Geldof, and he totally tore the bank apart, given what was going on. And it was really uncomfortable sitting there with clients at the front of the stage, and he's kind of having a real go. So I went and spoke to Entrepreneurial Spark, and they asked me for 75 grand, and the money was for pitch competition funding. And I went to my boss's boss, got the money, and went back and apologised to my boss and his boss after it, and said I wouldn't do it again. But I got the money, and that was it. And we opened up 12 accelerators across the whole of the UK, Scotland, Glasgow, Edinburgh. London was the last one we opened, and there was a reason for that, because London was really well supported. Don't know what it is now, but at the time about 62% of the UK's accelerators were in London. And a big part of that support was coaching. It was access to the bank's clients and supply chain and partners. It was peer-to-peer learning and that community that it is a community rather than competition. They've developed that a lot further now, because my then right-hand man has now got my old job. Darren. So I'm really pleased with that, and he's doing really well. We were voted number one accelerator in the UK out of 158 tracked in 2020, 21 and 22. And then it kind of lost its way a wee bit, but Darren's in there re-energising it and reinvigorating it, which is great. And you talk about, and you just build up. And I'm still in touch with and supporting a lot of those entrepreneurs that came into our very first cohort back in 2013. That's 12 years.
It's brilliant. But that's what I'm saying.
And I'm pals with some of them.
There's your network.
I'm pals with some of them.
Aye. And because you've formed this bond of, right, we're on this together. Right, this isn't a solo journey anymore for you guys. You're now part of a community, part of a team, and you're part of people who are here to try and help and support. And
there's lots of great accelerators out there now. I was a good leaver, thankfully. So I'm still really in touch with the team, and we will do quite a lot with them at WBG. But I'm also in touch with quite a lot of the other accelerators, like Stack and some other ones out there, because it's my job to be broader than just RBS and NatWest, but I've still got a good relationship with them. And I think you'll see WBG, for example, leveraging those relationships through the accelerators, because that's a great place for SMEs and for entrepreneurs to not feel, as you said earlier, not feel alone.
And the thing is, there's a lot of, similar to us, so if you looked at us probably a year ago, right, we didn't really need WBG, right? But we knew they were there. We had that conversation,
and I knew you would get to a point where you would need that growth would determine that.
Yes, and that's where I've spoke to a few people and I've said you might not need them now, but if you keep going the way that you're trying to go, you're going to need somebody like that at some point. So at least you know what they do. You've got a good idea, and that was a part of trying to get you on the show today, was because there's quite a lot of kind of small medium enterprise businesses that actually watch this show, because I think what they're seeing is that, and
it's kind of what you want.
That is what I wanted. It was to give something back, and it's the likes of, we've had this conversation. We have some cracking chats, and we've introduced each other to some cracking people.
It's trying to bring that to a broader audience, isn't it?
That's it.
You know, I hope we've done a wee bit of that today. And I don't mind. I'm one of the. I think you're the same as me. I freely would give out my email, freely give out my mobile. So if anybody wants to reach out, it's dead easy, I suppose, to find me on LinkedIn. Mary Lee's is kind of quite an unusual name, and it's spelt with a Y, this one. So it's dead easy to find.
Aye.
And you know for a fact, if any of them reach out, then I'll be delighted to help them.
Aye.
And whether that's now or it's help that we'll get in the future, or they get help just now and they come to us in the future, doesn't matter, we're there.
Aye. And that's just amazing. So I know that he will. And don't worry, he's tagged in the post anyway, so you'll find him, no bother.
That's good, that's good, that's good.
Right, okay. Well, listen, that's covered everything I was
Thanks
wanting
for being patient with me, because I was supposed to be here a month or so or two ago, and I ended up with COVID.
No, I know. I'm surprised I never go because I was with you in the Wednesday.
I know. Well, you ended up ill after your cruise.
I was horrendously bad.
Well, it took me 8 weeks to get rid of the cough.
Aye.
And I'm pretty healthy. I don't really go to the doctor. So.
Aye. Well, that's so. I've not had a cough or anything like that, but I can't breathe. I still can't breathe. So I tried to go a run at the weekend there, and I got to the end of my street.
That's all right.
I'm just come back.
I lost my taste and smell, which was kind of the giveaway.
Aye. I never had any of that. I just, as I say, I went out a 10k run on the Sunday, right? The Monday morning, went to work, had Teams calls and that, because this was me, Kelsey, and Alana, I think it was, were in the office. I was sitting there and I just can't stop shaking. It's like, geez, a jumper, so obviously put on one of the works hoodies. Still couldn't stop shaking. I was like, listen, I'm going to have to go. Cancel the rest of my day. Went home. And by the time Heather got home, I'm lying in the couch basically with my hood up, a wee homeless guy. The dogs all around about me, lying on the top of me and all that. I'm just like shaking. I
do think if you're respectful to it and you kind of lie down to it for a couple of days, it means you're not out of game for a couple of weeks.
Aye. Well, as I say, the Wednesday, I wouldn't say that was better.
But the rest the best thing.
100%. But when you're trying to run a business,
well, that's hard. As you say, you've got cane.
So resting can be challenging.
So thanks for being patient. I've really enjoyed it. I was up and down the road 4 times, couldn't find it.
So for those that obviously that thought that we literally sat down about 30 seconds before we went live.
No even.
So there was a poor Andrew. Andrew, do you hate me?
A little bit. No, Andrew was very patient with us.
Yes, he was. Poor Amelia was coming out to try and find us and that. Listen, it's live TV, mate.
And do you know what? And for those that will follow, and I know you and I have got some great colleagues that are coming on the show in weeks and months to come. Just enjoy it, I would say, because I've thought a lot about it. Of course you do, because you know what, you want to come in a bit prepped and you're in your own mind and think about what you kind of want to say and what value you want to add, and because it's about adding value to SMEs that are listening and watching, Jamie. So hopefully there's a little bit of that, and if there's even it's just whetted that somebody's appetite and they want to know more, I'd like to have a bit of a deeper conversation about that. Don't hesitate to reach out, because you know and I know that I will reply. Aye,
100%, 100%. Right, brilliant, Gordon. That's been magic.
Good to see you.
It's good to see you. Right, what we'll do is we'll leave it there. So anybody that's still watching us, thanks very much. And we will go and we can go and enjoy our cakes now.
I look forward to it.
Right, magic. Right, thank you everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers.
Cheers.